Quidditch is easy enough to understand. Each team has 7 players, 3 chasers, 2 beaters, 1 keeper, and the seeker. That's you.
Question that more people were asking me about as we were making the film: how in God's name are you going to do Quidditch?
Not bad, Potter.
Quidditch is very challenging, but it's great fun.
Give it here, Malfoy, or I'll knock you off your broom!
And to have so many chances to get it right is wonderful.
Technology is developed, and Quidditch now is much better than it was on the first.
The quaffle is released, and the game begins!
I invented Quidditch when I was living in Manchester, and I invented it on one evening after a row with my then boyfriend, which may explain some of the violence. But the essential point was there is not only one aim in life, so why should there be in sport? Why only one ball?
What was that?
Bludger. Nasty little buggers.
If you actually went back and read the Quidditch match as it was written, it left so much to the imagination. And so that was the hard part, is really trying to come up with something that would try to or attempt to satisfy what people imagined.
Lots of energy and enthusiasm. Set and action! She scores!
Angelina Johnson scores! 10 points for Gryffindor!
I wanted Quidditch to feel like a real sport. I'm a big football fan, a basketball fan, and I wanted to feel like it was an exciting spectator sport, and one that could really involve the audience.
Okay, cut.
My first interview with Chris Columbus, the conversation was leading towards skydiving, coming out of planes, skydiving on broomsticks, which we all liked. And then I got a call from the office. You can imagine what they said.
Okay, class, welcome to your first flying lesson. I would like you to put your right hand over the broom, a little higher, and say, up.
Up! Up!
The only way to really get these kids flying on broomsticks is to do it in a CGI environment. So we would shoot Harry and all the individual Quidditch players on a separate stage, and using motion control cameras, incorporate them into the background.
Forward, Dan. Feet up, feet back, head up.
I think that it was one of the more grueling experiences for most of the actors, because riding those brooms was a tremendously difficult thing.
All right, shooting.
Basically, they got a broom with a bike saddle on it, and then the broom moves.
It was on like a seesaw, you know, where you have one guy at one end with a load of weights and he's holding it, and then you at the other end with a bicycle seat, and he can sort of move you about and you're at his disposal.
It's very basic. We had the harnesses on and everything like that, but it was uncomfortable. They didn't complain. You all right? Yeah, they're fine. We used to leave them up there once again. Yeah, that's fine. Go again. Then you start to see their eyes cross. Then you pull them down.
Good.
You can't just shoot a kid, you know, going 100 yards, you know, and swooping and doing all the stuff. To create the illusion of that, you have a camera that's doing almost the opposite of what the kid is doing, and because you're both moving together in space, the background makes it look like you're moving 30 miles an hour, and then we'd have to give him a cue that says lean to the right, lean to the left, to look like the inertia of him going back and forth is creating all this stuff.
You lean out the way! And you know what, I'm going to chop like this with you and miss it totally. Then you sort of walked into it, didn't work. Whoops. You call me a bus? No, I said whoops rather than... I didn't. No, I promise.
You learned one valuable thing about the visual effects the first time around. The visual effects in the first film were done toward the end of shooting, so we didn't have enough time to really get them where we wanted them to be. In the second film, I wanted the visual effects to be much better than the first. So what we did is we shot those sequences first. It really enabled us to spend 5-6 extra months on Quidditch.
They'll track you over that way so you can lean that way a little bit, and as they bring you back over this way, you can lean the other way.
Then the second movie, you get to say, oh, look, you know, here's what we did before, we could do better. It's like the Model T compared to the Thunderbird or something like that.
Come on, Sid!
But I wanted that flexibility once we got to the stage to shoot it a little bit more wild with the cameras, you know, as if we were flying along and more handheld. So it certainly had that much more energy.
It may seem quite obvious now, but through the course of doing it, it became clear to us that when you have Harry closer to a surface, so if he's close to the ground or close to a wall, you're able to get a better sense of how quickly he's moving.
You'll never catch me, Potter!
So we have created this whole sequence that takes place in a trench, and that creates just more speed and makes it a little more dynamic.
The Quidditch is, I say, a constant case of evolution. In many cases, we're rebuilding rigs as we go to accommodate the different requirements of any given shot or scene. You know, for example, Quidditch takes place in pouring rain. We've never had that before.
I think that made it very different for Quidditch, which traditionally had been sort of a bright, sunny day, cheery kind of soccer game. Now it's, you know, it's something a little darker. And then towards the end, I mean, they're being attacked by Dementors. So it's a whole new game. It's very different.
But there is a limit to how many Quidditch matches you can have and have something different happen every time. And yet people expected Quidditch to happen. And, you know, it was a relief in Goblet of Fire where I was able to suspend all Quidditch matches because we have the Triwizard Tournament.
But I never had to play the game. Thank God. I just had to introduce the teams. We did everything up to the point of kickoff, and then we cut away.
Let the match begin! Cut!
Biggest challenge working on the World Cup Quidditch was the sheer size of everything, having to build each and every little bolt and strut and support girder and seat and chair, everything that's in there, and then fill it up with 55,000 plus digital people.
Where are you in that thing? It's behind the glass.
Really? So you can't see you in that concept?
Oh no! I'm far too. I'm behind privacy glass. I don't like the common folk looking at me. You know.
Yeah.
Puts me off.
Each of those films developed different ways of approaching the gameplay and illustrating the gameplay. And we came back on the 6th film to sort of really see it for the last time.
I never got a chance to do Quidditch in 5 because it didn't really sort of serve the story as much. But in Half-Blood Prince, we have 2 Quidditch sequences. One's a kind of comic Quidditch trial. Ron's trying out for goalie.
Keepers need to be quick, agile. I like my chances.
So we have a sequence which is unlike any other Quidditch sequence because it's got some gags in it. And then we have a match, a full-blown match.
We realised this was probably going to be the last time we have a Quidditch match, so we wanted to use everything that we'd learnt in the past and use the technology to push things and make it as dynamic as possible.
David Yates gave us a wonderful brief in that he wanted to explore the way in which stunts and Quidditch flying and visual effects and CG all could work together in a very interactive way. So we were commissioned to experiment with the physicality of Quidditch and could really see what those rigs could give us.
I mean, you think about Harry flying on a broomstick. Well, when we first built the broomstick rigs to fly him on, I think he weighed about 100 pounds. Now we're talking about grown men, literally. And it's a whole different technical scenario for us.
The Matrix rig was brought over by Greg Powell, our stunt coordinator. We can rotate horizontally and vertically and move up and down, in and out, all at the same time on that rig.
We had a thing called the Russian swing, which is something they use in the circus, and we had 2 of them, and they would swing at the same time, and then we'd jump off and we'd have mid-air collisions as if you were flying a broomstick. That was pretty much, I think, as close to flying you would get without actually having anything else assisting you.
1, 2, 3, up, land, straddle. There you go. Okay.
We did a lot of trampolining with a broom.
Nice, there you go, perfect, cool.
This is quite tricky filming that because there's nothing to react to.
You really have no idea what's going on.
Start the wind.
You just have to remind yourself that it's going to look great, and you just hope it does.
Quidditch really was like taking a visual tour around the inside of my own head, because that really is how I've imagined it for over 10 years now.
It's cool, I think it really shows in the films till when you kind of look at the most recent Quidditch. It's improved amazingly.
It is this very fast-moving game, and of course when you're actually watching it, you fully appreciate that.
We've got a game to win.
Hi there, here's today's Daily Fact. When books are adapted into films, it's very hard to please everybody. Even Harry Potter's iconic green eyes had to remain blue throughout all the films because actor Daniel Radcliffe just couldn't bear the idea of wearing contact lenses. Remember to click below to subscribe, and if you like my t-shirt, remember you can get one for yourself by clicking the shop link in the description.